Previously on September 18th.
First off, 23.6% fib, 114.8. No one would really think anything of it. That would be kind of a normal fluctuation. 38.2% fib, which is basically around the 200 moving average. Mincing words with the 200 average, 113.6. That would break us out of this channel of ascension, which isn't good, right? So even down to the 200 moving average, which everyone would obviously lose their mind, that would only be 38.2%. That'd be 2.5%. This just in, Bitcoin price dumps 2.5%. No one would even care. That's not true. Everyone would lose their minds, but really in the end of the day, it's nothing. No big deal. 50% fib, 112.4. Now we're getting down to people really losing their mind. This is the 50% fib. We are now under the 200 moving average, arguably where we'd never want to be in a bull run, even on a 4-hour chart, right? That is as bearish as it gets. And Lord love a duck if she didn't do just that. Now, I think actually on that video or another video, I said the actual flush would be 61.8% fib down at 11.3, which is this channel of descensions support. I don't know if it was that video or the next video, but that's what I don't like. If we're gonna go down, let's tick the boxes, right? Let's tick the 61.8% fib to get that full flush out. Now, is this considered? This is 11 point. I said 11.3 for the flush. It's 11.7, 11.8, 500. Are we mincing words? Is 500 amongst a $4 trillion asset something to, delineate and not click the box? I don't know. I just feel better if we click that box. Now, we may let's war game this one out. If we were to sit here and consolidate at the 200 moving average, which is textbook to consolidate. After all, it is the 200-day moving average. So to be there and just sit there and mince words and consolidate range wouldn't be so crazy. But yeah, again, if we were to do that, we would be building out this little bear flag. Now this is a hypothetical, my friends. We haven't built it out. It hasn't been built out yet, but that's what it would look like if we just sat here and consolidated. And now, I mean, if you wanted to find out, what happens with this bear flag, you would take the pole and then you would slide it on to the breakout point, and then we're all at about 108.5. Now that's if, and I say if, this bear flag even builds out. I mean, we could have what some legacy analysts call a V-shaped recovery. I mean, that's still on the board. Who knows? The market could finally digest one of Michael Saylor's massive buys and react positively for a change, instead of negatively all the time. Holy shit, Michael Saylor just bought $80 million worth of Bitcoin. Dump it. Of course, he buys on OTC, so who cares, right? All it does is, to me, it builds my thesis of joke's on you, because you've just scared out all the retail and now you're holding the bag. You are the actual, when they call someone the biggest bag holder, well, my friend Michael Saylor, buying on the OTC has possibly made you the most historic and largest bag holder in humanity. Now, let's not hope so. Let's hope that, for some reason, people start buying on the exchanges again. I don't know what that reason would be. It's not like there's a lot of weird things that are, happening in the world as we speak.
Vietnam, the testing ground for the new banking order. Well, recently, Vietnam imposed a requirement for a digital ID, including a biometric scan of everyone in order to have a bank account. And what they did to enforce this is they closed 86 million bank accounts and seized all of the assets in those accounts. So the owners of those accounts have no ability to do banking or access their funds because they chose not to sacrifice their privacy and submit to this biometric surveillance tracking mechanism. Well, this is not something that is going to stay in Vietnam. This is a test because if we look at, for example, what's going on with the European Central Bank and digital ID initiative in Europe, as well as the Real ID and the CBDC system FedNow being imposed in the United States, we can see that it is coming to us as well. So what are you going to do about it?
It's a good question. Oh, where am I? Where did it just, what kind of, this wasn't planned. Usually these are linked to the next scene. And I guess this next scene was, big old face of, I guess this is a hybrid of Larry Fink and Klaus Schwab. Yeah. One of my many half face thumbnails. They go over like wildfire. People just click on these like you wouldn't believe. It's weird living in a world like, so I'll live my day. You'll live your day. We'll all live our day here knowing about, Vietnam and the digital ideas that wiped out 82 million. Is it $82 million worth of bank accounts or 82 million bank accounts? Either way, it's still horrendous. We will live our lives, go on with our days, and knowing this. But I assure you that the majority of people that you will come across today will have zero knowledge of it. You may even start a conversation with people. Hey, did you know that the Vietnamese government, a petri dish, an experimental country where they usually, test things on their population because, seemingly no one cares what happens to them. So we might as well test. It's like Canada. Canada is also a test ground because the personality type in Canada is one that they like to see. Well, let's see what a docile, dumb, and compliant country will do if we implement these things. And then they, put it in their data. This is what happens when you lean on like a soy country based of just soy boys and libtards. This is what happens, right? So we are a petri dish. Vietnam is a petri dish, but make no mistake, these things get rolled out. And the conversation you'll have with people about this, they'll be like, what are you worried about? It's, it's a safety, convenience, safety. What is it? Safety, convenience, and safety, right? They won't even care. And, well, up here in this tax farm, basically people will beg for it like they do everything. The Canadian tax farm's weird because it's basically a circus of compliant dumb people that just roll over. It's almost like they are NPCs. Just like when I drive around, I still see people in masks in cars by themselves. Now, I'm sure that's everywhere, right? But I think it's more here. Maybe it's just more Winnipeg. Tony Tone, I've been watching for years. You are the greatest Bitcoin influencer there is. Just spitting facts. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the comment, Tony Tone. I don't recognize you from being in the streams in the morning, or maybe you don't comment. Nice to hear that. Makes me do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll do a video because of that comment. That's how easy I am. But anyway, I'll go to the squash club after this and, exercise and maybe have a conversation with one of the boomers about digital IDs just to test the water. Like I also test the water to see what's going on in the minds of the compliant NPCs in this country. And I guarantee you, none of them will know. None of them will even have heard of it. And if they have heard of it, they won't even care. Because they are probably already on the government dole anyway. That's the hard Let's see the soundproof thing as based on that title. I like it when people use interesting soundproofing. They're already on the government dole. So what do they care? They got their pension, right? So they have their two tiers. They have their pension, their government dole. That if it switches to a digital ID, what do they care? They're just trying to get their pension. Then they probably have their investment payments. Now, that's another one. We're just going to have to wonder what happens with their investment strategies, which is what I wonder, because it's a tough question, right? Because like if you have kids and you have to maneuver through this infrastructure of control and digital IDs, there's not many options. And also, so for instance, I could maybe vicariously exist through other people's digital IDs, but am I really circumventing, like I'll use this person to buy this, use that person to buy that. And then I'll just stay out of it, because the last thing I really want to do, of course, for your safety and convenience is comply, because I'm generally a non-compliant person when it comes to anything the government has to offer. And it's just my first stance, right? And then I'll investigate and further, and then I have to game theory what is the best option. Am I better off a man in the woods with making fires and hunting? I'm not sure. And then when it comes to Bitcoin, what happens to Bitcoin? Is this the bridge to figure out how many people have exposure to it? I really don't think they care, actually. So we tend to think that our situation is important to them. It's not. The only people they really care about is the massive Bitcoin whales, and that they're already taken care of. They're like on Noah's financial ark already. And then if you have some Bitcoin exposure, you may be, in the gullies of that boat, or hanging onto the rudder, but you will be saved. But do they care about where your 10% of a Bitcoin is or your 3 Bitcoins are? Not really. They don't really care. They're not going to spend a lot of time. So is the digital IDs a bridge to find out who has Bitcoin? Nah. But that doesn't alleviate the question of what do you do with it inside a digital ID tax farm, which all these countries are moving to. And so I was wondering today, as I was, sitting there reviewing X before the stream, does this country, Canada, does the Canadian tax farm have enough male energy to create a revolution in Ottawa? Because you gotta understand, like when you see these revolutions happening in Nepal or France, right? Canada is so big that, let's say it started in Ottawa. For me to go to Ottawa, first of all, I'm not going to fly to a revolution. I'm kind of stuck there. You would basically want to drive, and kind of be an independent traveler rather than, bow your hat to the revolution and then head to the airport like nothing happened. I'm war gaming here what would happen in a revolution. But it would be kind of up to Ottawanians, whatever the hell they're called, Ontarianians, to get there and do that. Now, I'm not sure if there is, because if you've been to Ontario, it's all East Indians, right? So they're like, what do they care? Digital ID, does that mean I get free money? Yeah, perfect. Well, that's why I'm here. So that'll never change. So Ottawans, Bruce Mai. So yeah, I mean, the last time this happened was the trucker convoy, and it might have been a weird catalyst in the COVID journey. The trucker convoy, however, squashed via the banking system, right? Turn you off. And then lawfare for 4 years. These people that are involved in it are still still, on trial for this. Wick, in the world of digital IDs, the hacker is the many-faced man. Yeah. Well, that's the tough part, right? Like, how do you become the many-faced man inside a digital tax form? It's a tough one. We're going to have to figure it out. Obviously we will figure it out somehow. I just have no faith in the Canadian market of men to put up any real revolution, because at the same time, we don't live in a free country like United States. It's the illusion of a free country. It's very free to a certain degree. It's not like we're living in, I don't know. I no longer believe all these stories that you hear about these other countries, because that's just how we're fed our own propaganda. That country's bad. That country's bad. Then I'll see these leaked videos. I don't know if you guys have seen these ones, but of like Shanghai, where they're like, it's Friday night at 10 p.m. and everyone's like doing Tai Chi and singing karaoke in this beautiful downtown area, and you're like, that's what I think, that's what I'm supposed to think is a horrible place to live? That looks pretty good, because I know for sure I couldn't go down to Winnipeg downtown Friday night at 10 o'clock and see Tai Chi. Nope. Or see karaoke. Nope. Or just see actually people downtown. You have to understand, our downtown's kind of dead. I don't know if you have a downtown. It's not a big city. It's 800,000 people. It's not a small city, but it has a dead downtown. The only time there's ever anything going on is like a Jets game, when all the slaves get together and root for the millionaires. That's when there's a little bit of hustle and bustle, but it's a hustle to get there, and then it's an even more of a bustle to get the hell out. Like, there's no raging industry down there, like drinks after, food after. Everyone just gets in and gets out. There is a small little area that's kind of being developed, but it'll never work because there's such crime. So I have a friend who bartends at one of these new restaurants, and he's worked there for 6 weeks. He's had his car broken into 3 times, and like the last time, nothing's locked. Like he didn't even lock his car. Still, smash. They smashed it. They're like, it's funny because it's sad because it's funny. Like he did all the right things. Up here in Canada, you got to comply with the criminals. What are you, some sort of racist, bigot, misogynist? You comply with those criminals. And so he did. He's like, I won't lock my car. There's nothing in it, but I won't lock it. And the criminals are like, nah, this isn't fun unless I smash shit. Smash. 3 times in 6 weeks. Now, I hope he's making a lot of money at that bartending gig, because, the insurance, the windows, like that's 3 broken windows in like 6 weeks. Crazy. Like, at what point do you just stop fixing the window? Well, in Winnipeg, you have to, because we live in a climate that in a couple months, if you're outside for 3 minutes, you will die from exposure. Chadwick says, I believe that digital ID enrollment would be bungled, but compared with what the U.S. has now, the bar is super low. Yeah, that's why they experiment on these countries to see where they got it wrong and where they can tweak it, and then they tweak it and they just ratchet up. Are people getting out of that little hole there? Ratchet up. Are people getting out of that little hole there? There's a little hole there. Ratchet up. Are people? I think some people got away. They actually moved out. Ratchet up. And then when they implement it, I also live in a world where the United States is the last wall. If this wall breaks, we will see for sure. This is a doomy, gloomy Monday stream. We will see 4 generations of darkness, because that's what it'll take to turn it around. So it's really up to the states. There could be a weird black swan, some country that instigates a world revolution, and they just say, okay, we got to pull back. Because that's what happened. These snakes, they come out of the jungle, and they start hissing, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And then they get pushed back and they're like, oh, okay, we'll go back for a bit. But they only go back for a bit and they come out and they give it their best shot every time they come back out. They get a little bit stronger, a little bit smarter, maybe. I hate to give them that much credit, but they do. Now, is this a little bit of recovery? At the end of the day, folks, it's not that much of a dip. Let's just see where we were on Friday. What is this? Saturday? Saturday we were up here. What was the dip? It's not even 4% dip. Like that's the unfortunate part about where we are in the market right now, is that a 4% dip is like 4% to the upside. Also, it's nothing to write home about, because we're in the law of large numbers. So these moves, they are just more losing the marquee, right? So the price is our only selling feature of the asset so far to the retail normies. Price action is the marketing team. So when we lose the marquee, it's 116. Well, now it's 113. It's just, it doesn't have the cachet of 125 or all-time high, right? We are becoming, an economic B movie of sorts, with a predictable ending and beginning and a bunch of low key actors. This is where what's his name? Who's that king of B movies? His brother is, or his sister is, the Pretty Woman girl. What's her name? Man, I'm so out of the loop with movies and movie stars. Let me think about it. Who's the Pretty Woman girl? Jimmy Coco. Who's usually on the ball here? Squeaky McGee. Julia Roberts. Yes, her brother. Thank you, JP. Eric Roberts. He would be starring in this Bitcoin bull market right now. It'd be the 2025 Bitcoin bull market starring Eric Roberts as Michael Saylor. You like and subscribe and share